couldn't believe how nice that guy was. I bent down and then I tied his shoelace. The best way to bet the NFL is win totals. In this win projection series, you will get to see the logic behind Big Ryan the Fat Guy's win total projections and how you can win whatever contest you decide to enter for the 2018 NFL season. Detroit Lions last year, they went 9-7. Fat Guy, what did you think about the Lions season last year?
I thought Matthew Stafford looked good the entire year. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate you go 9-7 and they fire you, Jim Caldwell, but the writing was kind of on the wall. They expected more. I really don't mind the Detroit Lions, and I think they kind of improved a little bit last year. Especially Stafford. He just seems so clutch. Even when he get hurt, he'd keep himself in the game and he'd get it done. And by the way, they beat the Atlanta Falcons. That was a pile of shit.
At head coach, they brought in former New England Patriots defensive coordinator Matt Patricia. This is his first season as an NFL head coach. What are your thoughts on Matt Patricia?
Besides from looking just like me, Matt Patricia, he's been a defensive stalwart for New England, and that's a good place to learn. So I have full confidence in Matt Patricia, even though we haven't seen him as a head coach yet. So I'm kind of excited on what this defense is particularly going to look like in Detroit.
It's funny how you kind of look a little bit like Matt Patricia, but I look a lot like Mike McCoy. At offensive coordinator, they have Jim Bob Cooter returning for his 4th season.
Now everyone's kind of surprised that he kept his job, not because he crept into some lady's window and fondled her or something of that weird nature, but Jim Bob Cooter, he's from the previous regimes. I am surprised he's coaching this part of the team, but Matt Stafford has looked better, so maybe he's to blame, and I'm looking forward for Matt Stafford to improve even more this following season.
Jim Bob Cooter sounds like a guy who wouldn't do well in jail.
I don't imagine so, especially if you're a sex offender.
And at defensive coordinator, we have Paul Pasqualoni in his 1st season.
Now, Paul Pasqualoni, he's a little bit of an older veteran, been in and out of the college ranks and the NFL from what I understand. I don't know him too well, but if he's hand-selected by Matt Patricia, I have full confidence that this is going to work out.
Now, with Matt Patricia taking over the roster, they've made quite a few additions. Let's start at cornerback. They added Deshaun Shedd.
Deshaun Shedd, I think he was a captain of almost the Legion of Boom. Kind of the later version, less good Legion of Boom. But he had some productive seasons in Seattle, that's for sure. Not sure if he's lost a step, but we're going to find out in Detroit.
Let's stay on the defensive side of the ball. They also added linebackers Christian Jones, Devon Kennard, and Jonathan Freeney.
Well, that's obviously a need for them. I really like their pick from last year, Jared Davis. I mean, he didn't grade out well on certain websites, but I did think he was decent. And I guess they're trying to give them some talent around him. And Jonathan Freeney, he played underneath Matt Patricia in New England. So that might work out for him. Maybe he knows the system a little bit. So this isn't a bright spot in Detroit, but at least they're trying to address it.
I play under a guy who looks like Matt Patricia. At defensive tackle, they added Sylvester Williams.
Sylvester Williams, first-round pick. Should bolster the defense a little bit, but he was in Tennessee, I think, the year before. He's a bit of a rotational lineman. I think that's all you're going to get is a few rotational sacks.
On the offensive line, they added guard Kenny Wiggins from the Chargers, as well as center Wesley Johnson.
Again, fill-in guys. Nothing to write home about.
At tight end, they added Luke Wilson and Levine Toilolo.
Levine Toilolo once played left tackle for the Falcons in a pinch. He was a tight end for the Falcons. Luke Wilson, a tight end for the Seahawks. These are kind of, just guys that play tight end. They can block. There isn't that much to be desired in the passing game. After Eric Ebron's antics, you kind of just want a solid person at that position rather than a diva who shows flashes.
At quarterback, they added a backup in Matt Castle.
Matt Castle, also familiar with Matt Patricia, as he was traded for a first-round pick from New England to Kansas City, and we all know how well that worked out. He's just a backup. Let's hope for the Lions he doesn't have to play this year.
The biggest name they added in free agency is running back LeGarrette Blount.
LeGarrette Blount, 2 years removed from an 18-touchdown season, played for the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles last year. Another guy that Matt Patricia knows. Feels like there's a lot of retread Patriots on this team, but that not necessarily is a bad thing.
For guys who they lost, you mentioned it earlier, but tight end Eric Ebron, as well as defensive tackle Akeem Spence.
I could do without Eric Ebron, to be perfectly honest. He can't be trusted. In so many situations, he literally drops the ball. I think it's an addition by subtraction by the Detroit Lions.
Now let's look over the roster at quarterback. Obviously a staple in Matthew Stafford.
Stafford is an excellent quarterback. Ton of arm strength, and he really pulled out a lot of last-minute wins last year. I'm impressed with him. I hope big things for him. I'm on board with Matthew Stafford.
Let me take a deep breath here and get through these running backs. Amir Abdullah, Theo Riddick, LeGarrette Blount, rookie Kerryon Johnson, Zach Zenner, Dwayne Washington, Tion Green. Other than Kerryon Johnson and LeGarrette Blount, all 5 of those other running backs have played some sort of snaps for the Lions over the last season or two.
And played not well in some sort of snaps for the Lions last few seasons. Zach Zenner at least gets some sort of grace, because Zach Zenner had that horrific injury where, I don't know, it felt like his insides exploded. He got really hurt in one of the Detroit Lions games, and somehow he's come back. So for him, I have some sort of sympathy. The rest of them, they've really been hot trash. Stay away from him in fantasy. That would be my best opinion. I'm not really sure how it's going to shake down. Expect Blount on early downs. That's the only thing I can think of.
I want to roll back a little bit. It's too rough on Theo Riddick. He has been a good receiving back, one of the better receiving backs in the league for the last 2 years.
That's a little bit. I was a little bit harsh.
At wide receiver, they have Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, TJ Jones, and most importantly, Golden Tate.
That's a decent grouping. I mean, it's not amazing or anything. But Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, you kind of think, how's this signing going to do? But they seem to get it done, both of them. Golden Tate's had some highlight reel performances, highlight reel catches. He's done really well. Marvin Jones can still get it done. I mean, he goes on these streaks where he gets lots of touchdowns and then he goes quiet for a while. But Marvin Jones is still a quality player. Kenny Golladay got 2 touchdowns in the first week, I believe, his first game. So I'm kind of excited for this grouping, especially when you pair it with Matt Stafford. There's a lot of positive upside to these pairings.
Especially for Golladay, it'll be nice to see if he can be consistent, because he did show really good flashes last year.
But went quiet for others, just like Marvin Jones.
On the offensive line from left to right, it's Taylor Decker, Kenny Wiggins, Graham Glasgow, TJ Lang, and Ricky Wagner. As well, we haven't mentioned him yet, but first-round center Frank Ragnow.
Taylor Decker is a pretty excellent tackle. I mean, he got hurt last year, and it really hampered the Lions. Everyone was choked about it. They still managed to win against the Vikings, which was impressive. Ricky Wagner, he was a star right tackle for the Baltimore Ravens. I think he's the highest paid right tackle. Now, the interior is kind of weak, but you just mentioned Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow, he could play guard or center, and I expect him to win one of those jobs as a first-round pick by the Lions. And if he does that, it's going to give him strength kind of all the way around. Mostly on the outside, but the interior will at least be average to above average. If they're able to pull that off, this will be a better offensive line. Maybe they can get a run game going, perhaps.
And at tight end, we've mentioned these guys earlier. Probably don't need to cover too much. Luke Wilson, Levine Toilolo.
Yeah, everyone knows who they are. They don't give you much fantasy, but they can play.
On the defensive side of the ball, it's highlighted by Ziggy Ansah and A'Shawn Robinson. Other names they have are Anthony Zettel, Jeremiah Ledbetter, 4th-round pick Deshaun Hand, Sylvester Williams, Cornelius Washington, Kerry Hyde. I'm really stretching now.
Kerry Hyde had a surprising good year last year. It is highlighted, the defensive line, by Ezekiel Ansah. He's from BYU. He did some missionary work once. I kind of like drafting the religious guys because you seem to get less of a character issue. I mean, religion's not my thing, but come on now. There's no problems off the field for most of them. So Ansah needs to return to form and line up some more sacks. A'Shawn Robinson takes up a lot of space, but this unit as a whole is kind of underwhelming, and feels below average, so it's not really a strength on this defense.
With Matt Patricia taking over, I'm kind of excited for this linebacker group. It's highlighted by Gerard Davis, and they've added Christian Jones, Devon Kennard, and Jonathan Freeney.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Gerard Davis last year watching him play, and it made a difference for me for the Lions to win whether he played or not. He is a heat-seeking missile when it comes down to tracking down running backs. I'm kind of curious how it's all going to pan out, just like you are. But Matt Patricia is a wizard, so they are going to find a way to get it done. I think Jonathan Freeney might get a lot of important snaps, to be perfectly honest.
Hopefully this pass rush can come around, because this secondary isn't that bad. Big play Slay, Darius Slay, Tavon Wilson, Glover Quinn, Nevin Lawson, Deshaun Shedd, Quandre Diggs.
They all can play. Every guy you name can play. This is a decent secondary. It's a very good, not very good, it's a good secondary. I would be happy if I had a team this was my secondary. So I would say this is the strength of this defense.
And maybe the only guy I know that drinks more than you, Matt Prater.
Oh, Matt Prater. Yeah, he's got a few pops, wobbly pops for Matt Prater. Still doesn't stop him from doing his job, just like me right now.
What's the roster strength of the Detroit Lions, fat guy?
First of all, it's got to be quarterback, got to be mentioned. Matt Stafford's the best player on this football team, and this football team will live and die on the strengths, weaknesses, and success of this quarterback.
And what's the biggest weakness?
That's a good question, but we kind of glossed over it. I was a little harsh on them, but they're the worst part of this team is running back. I mean, I like Blunt, but he keeps moving team to team to team, so there's got to be a reason for it, even when he got 18 touchdowns. And he's the headline of a bunch of nobodies behind him. I mean, we do know these names, and they do have these fantasy blurbs about them, but I'm just not that impressed with this running back grouping.
I'm going to say the same thing for the defensive line. Other than Ziggy Ansah and A'Shawn Robinson, there's not much there.
There isn't much there. So on offense, running backs. On defense, the defensive line.
So going into 2018, we have the Detroit Lions as a C team.
C sounds about right because they can be upgraded in so many areas. But Matt Stafford is headlining this team, and that's why this team isn't lower in the rankings.
They've got a positive schedule. We have them winning 8.4 games, and the over-under has been set at 7.5. Almost a win here, fat guy. Is this worth a bet?
I'm going to say no bet, and this is the reason why. Whenever these over-unders are set, it's assuming that everyone's going to be healthy. So it's better to be pessimistic in these scenarios. So if Stafford gets hurt, how many wins do we think they're going to get? Not that many. So a Stafford injury would be too catastrophic. So as much as I love gambling, I'm also a conservative at heart. So I'm going to say no bet.
Hit the like button if you agree with Big Ryan the Fat Guy. Give us a comment below if you think we're stupid or if you'd like to guess the Fat Guy's weight. Subscribe for more non sequiturs and NFL projections. Also, set us your best joke.